I think I got the book Edgar Colle, or Colli, like the American would pronounce it, Caissa's Wounded Warrior, by Taylor Kingston, maybe 1 year ago. I finally have the time, a little time, to go over some of the games of this interesting book, because obviously it gives the perspective of a chess player that was born probably 100 years ago, and that it's interesting because he reached a good level. From what I see, he reached for the elo that ARPA the elo calculated, it seems he reached 2,490, which in modern day it's an international master title. However, he won some major international tournament ahead of some big competition like Rubinstein. So maybe he was stronger than a grandmaster, or like a grandmaster. In any case, he's famous because we have this Colle Zuckertort defense, opening, that it's quite interesting to know. And for example, the book begins obviously with a historical introduction to Colle, but the chapter that is interesting to me as a chess player is in the beginning, marvelous miniatures. Practically, the author says that ChessBase give 37 games, which Mr. Colle won in 25 moves or less, and another 28 which he won in 26 to 30 moves. And he starts to give a sample of these games. I think miniatures are quite interesting because they give us some pleasure, right? They are funny games, very fast, in which generally there is always a mistake, a big mistake made by the side who lost. And sometimes it's difficult to see it right away. So let's see here. So we had the d4, d5, knight f3, knight f6, c4, e6, knight c3, bishop e7, bishop g5. This is the difference in the Colle, the so-called opening. Generally, white plays this move e3. And the bishop c1 is locked inside, yet he finds some ways to escape the lock or become useful. So bishop g5, castle, e3, c6, bishop d3. And this is interesting because sometimes when this bishop is developed, black automatically takes on c4 because it makes white lose a tempo, because now white needs to take back. And then, now, this bishop, it's on a wrong square in a sense, because it's not threatening anything on this diagonal, right? So that's quite an interesting consideration. By the way, this game was played, it was Colle Rothemeyer, Bad Oeynshausen in 1922, a Queen's Gambit decline. Okay, so knight bd7. So, by the way, in the beginning, the author wrote this guest tournament organized by the German Federation was Colle's fourth international competition. So this was the fourth international competition to which he played. 0-0, rook e8, and now there is obviously a problem for white, because sometimes this pawn becomes a problem, and we can see here like this and like this. So we must be kind of careful when this happens. Queen e2, queen c7, rook ac1, d takes c4 finally, bishop takes e4, e5. But I don't know if this e5 is really needed at the moment. Oh. It doesn't make much sense, honestly, e5. But let's see what else black can do. For example, black could try to develop this bishop here. That's a possibility. Because e5 is not a developing move. Maybe it's the right one, I don't know. But the problem with e5 is that practically black has already weakened and given meaning to white's bishop on c4. So that's why I would be a little careful to play it. Maybe he was afraid of bishop f4, maybe, who knows. Okay, so let's see what's going on here. Bishop h4, and now there is the move e takes d4. E takes d4. So this move by the author is marked as a blunder. This is a blunder for the author of this book. And so clearly, why it's important to have chess books? Because in chess books, the authors, they do our job. They practically put a diagram in this position to tell you that was wrong. Generally, you would do it one move before, and say to the reader, hey, if you were black here, what would you play? Because this is a critical moment. And we must always find the critical moment in every game. Otherwise, we are just wasting time. That's a fact. Okay? So the diagram for me should have been here, and one should have asked the reader, hey, reader, dear reader that you paid me 20 bucks, what would you play here? What is your move in this position if you were black? So that's kind of important, okay? Why the author writes this is a blunder? Because he says that best was queen f5. Also, if after knight g5, rook f8, f4, white has the initiative and a much better game. But now, intended in this position, in e takes d4, he has a forced win. So, as I said before, let's return to this position. Like I said, this move, e5, doesn't make much sense because once you play it, you open this. And now he played this move, he went back here to open the square for the knight that is also going to attack here. That's why e6 to e5 to me didn't make much sense, because I think it gives white an easy target, in this case f7. Okay. With that said, just a second, because I'm interested in one thing. For example, the author said that he put the annotation of many of these contemporary players like Hans Mock, Frank Reinfeldt, and many others. And here he writes, so I don't know if this annotation was made by the author or if maybe the game was annotated before. Okay, at the moment I think it could have been made by the author of the book. With that said, so let's return to this mistake. E takes d4. And now, again, for me, it's important that when we watch a game, we really are hands-on. We try to understand what's going on. Now, if you had put this game over the board, if you didn't do it now, stop this video, do it now, put this position over the board, think for about 5 minutes and tell me, what would you play if you were white? I think this is a very important thing to do, okay? So if you have done that, I go forward with the game and boom, bishop takes f7. Amazing move, right? Why? Because it practically starts to remove one defender from the enemy castle and open also a square once more. For example, I didn't see this game before, okay? But the point here is that this queen now, it's a great queen, has some chances to attack the castle that he didn't have before, right? Because there were pawns and pieces in the middle. Now there is nothing in the middle. And the queen is definitely a stronger piece, right, than a bishop. So we want to have a queen to attack compared to a bishop. Okay, so what happened? Kings take f7. We bring another piece into the attack because obviously without pieces you're not going to win the game. Knight g5, king g6. At this point one needs to calculate all the possible moves, okay? So stop the video here and calculate king g6, calculate king f8, okay? And calculate what will you do if black plays king g8. The moves are quite simple. So pause the video here at this position. Again, if you have a chessboard, it would be perfect because one tries to simulate the tournament conditions, and this is the real stuff. And what would you play for for black? Which one is the best continuation for black? And obviously if you were white, because you could also do it for white, right? You could say, okay, let's see what are the three main possibilities of black and how I refute his moves. So it's a good exercise. In the game, black played king g6. However, let's watch the other, because I'm sure now you have made an exercise. There is king f8. How does white wins? Well, white wins very simple with a fork. Okay, knight e6, and this knight is giving check to the king and taking the queen, and generally the game is over. But let's see, if black would have played king g8, what would have white played? Here the author puts queen c4, knight d5, knight takes d5. Also in this case, it's kind of strong, right? So black cannot take on d5 because this queen is hanging, okay? So that's the problem. But could black, for example, take on g5 just because he's crazy? Maybe. Yes, he can. No? And let's see what happens. If he takes on g5, he plays this, and we are still with a check. So here's the problem. Then he moves his king somewhere, and if white wants, he can take back. Is there any other move that that black could have played after this and this? For example, he could have maybe if he moved here, would it be a good idea? No. Why? Well, this is simple because this is a checkmate pattern made by the two knights, and it could be quite fun. For example, now we do this, watch, because this is a smoother checkmate, okay? Generally, this pattern must be learned with some tactical training or watching some games. In any case, black played king g6 during the game, and white answered with queen d3, king h5. Now, if you were white, what would you play here? So here there is a very good move, okay? Again, the idea when you are attacking is to bring all the pieces into the attacking side, into the game that is attacking. So here, white played knight d5. Is attacking the queen because this pawn here, it's pinned. Queen e5. But now you ask me, what would happen if black would have played knight takes d5? Because that's a possibility, right? Well, you must remember every piece has a function. When the knight was here, it was defending this. But now it's not defending h7 anymore. So, boom, boom. And can you see the checkmate now? There is one move that gives checkmate to the black king, h3, and the game is over. Okay? So let's return back. During the game, black played queen e5, but obviously also in this case, the game is nearly over. You cannot really escape this thing. Knight f4, king takes h4, knight f3, king g4, and once more, can you see the checkmate? Because you see, when you see a checkmate, you see that all the squares are controlled by the enemy, okay? So it cannot go anywhere else. So there is only one move that gives checkmate, and that is h3. And the game is over. A very nice miniature by Mr. Colle, that was clearly one of the strongest players in his period.